eagle, kaningiting nagiging blue and white. One big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan.
Get your daily dose of inspiration through our music. Follow JustCom PH on Spotify and JustCom Music in YouTube.
Good morning, Ateneo. Start your day right with your morning wake-up call. Good morning, Ateneo. Energize your day with the lively, funny, and lovely tandem of Mir de los Santos and Ariel Dicción. Catch the latest news and stories around the campus. Good morning, Ateneo. Your daily dose of Radio Chikahan, tawanan, kantahan, and kwentuhan. Every morning, only here on the voice of the Blue Eagle, Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM. Good morning, Ateneo. Mornings have never been this good. Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM. Mamangha sa lalim at ganda ng ating kultura at diwang makabayan, sa mga salita at pahina, sa tulong ng mga guro at manunulat ng panitikang Pilipino. Halina't tuklasin ang yaman ng ating panitikan, ang pamana ng ating lahi. Kasama si Binibining Andrea Trinidad, Ginoong Jethro Tenorio at Ginoong Yol Hamendang ng Kagawaran ng Filipino ng Pamantasang Ateneo de Manila. Ito ang Sari-Sari, ang Catholic Mass Media Awards Special Citation Awardee para sa pinakamagaling na palatuntunang pang-edukasyon sa radyo. Dito sa Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM.
Jesuit Music Ministry, music that uplifts the soul. Follow JustCom PH on Spotify and JustCom Music on YouTube. We are also on iTunes and Deezer.
Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM. Are you feeling sore? We can make that better. Tune in to the Ateneo Senior High School's first radio program, SOAR, the Seniors On Air Radio. Don't change that channel yet, because SOAR is ready to put the you in you. SOAR, Seniors On Air, here on Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugo, todo sa kayod, punong at tulong. Lipad na Blue Eagle, galing giting at tigil, blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan.
Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM.
JustCom Music Ministry, your daily dose of inspiration. Follow JustCom PH on Spotify and JustCom Music on YouTube. We are also on iTunes and Deezer.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention?
If it's entertainment you crave, catch us on New Wave. Surfing through the latest on our shores.
New Wave.
Every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m.
New Wave.
See you there.
You're listening to the voice of the Blue Eagle.
You know what Voice of Blue
On the
Eagle.
Campus Radio.
Radyo Katipunan, 87.9.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atin sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero, sugo. Todo sa kayod, punong at tulong. Lipad na Blue Eagle, galing, giting at tigil.
Coming to you on Radio Katipunan 87.9 FM via Zoom. I'm Max, and when it comes to what's happening, I'll serve you the facts. Now, please take this hour to sit back and relax because this is New Wave. Notice anything different? No giant bears in my background, nothing. And that's because we're back in the studio. Yay! So, today is a huge milestone for me and for the station as we are back in the studio. It's our first episode filmed here in the main studio since March 2020. It's New Wave's first in-studio episode ever. So, be excited. The rest of the programs will follow soon. So now, joining me today is someone who's very important. So
I think we're all pretty important,
yeah.
right? Everybody's important.
Exactly. So today's guest is an award-winning vlogger and one of the most well-known YouTubers in the country with content focusing on Philippine culture, travel, and everyday life. So on his YouTube channel called Becoming Filipino, he documents the adventures he goes on around the Philippines and sometimes outside. He has been to 80 out of 81 provinces in the country, and moreover, he is known for his optimism and the sharing of good and positive vibes to his audience. So today, during his quick trip to Manila, he is here on campus. So please welcome Becoming Filipino's Kulas.
Hey,
Hi.
what's up? First time on campus too. I like it here.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Thank you. We hope you enjoyed your little tour.
I did. I want to go running around here. It's very beautiful for walking. I like the trees. I like the vibes. So
You're welcome to come back for a jog anytime.
All right, that's the plan.
All right. So how are you and what have you been up to the past few weeks?
Whoa, the past few weeks have been sort of similar to the past 9 years, 10 years. I was driving my scooter around the country. So I was down in Mindanao and Davao. And then I took my scooter to Jensan and all over central Mindanao. And then started going Surigao to Cebu, Iloilo, Bacolod, all the way up to here, Manila. So it was 2,900 kilometers in 28 or so days. And now I'm here in your studio. So...
Wow.
And my scooter is literally here just nearby in Binyan, Laguna. So, yeah, I've just been documenting my life and sharing positive vibes all over the country.
What an adventure, though. So, 28 days, you and your scooter. And I was watching your vlog last night. And something that stood out to me was when you were eating your bibingka in the gas station, you said something like, okay, I don't know where I'm going. It's just you and your scooter. You're going somewhere. And I was like, wow. For me, as a person, I can't do that. I can't go out and not have a plan. So, your spontaneity, your bravery, it's so cool. So, I guess for us, can you share a little bit of, your planning process when it comes to your adventures, if there is any?
So I think, I'm pretty, when it comes to my planning, it's very little. But when I say that, it's not little as in, I'm just going to freestyle, run around the country and do whatever. It's, I'm over the years, I've become more and more educated with the country from north to south. And case in point, 2014, when I did a first scooter trip, I went from Cagayan de Oro to a place called Hingaog. It was only a 2-hour drive. I went for a day, stayed overnight, came back home. Then I go down to Iligan, a little bit farther, and spend a few days and then come back home. And then, I go on a trip that's across to Davao and it's 7 days. And, you just build and build and build. And I think actually nowadays too, I just kind of plan A to B. It's like, here's my timeline, here's where I want to get to. But then we live in this like glorious digital generation.
We do.
That, with signal pretty much everywhere, that you can just literally use Google Maps or Facebook or whatever and just find tons of information as you go and kind of adapt your whatever you're doing. So I like to just make it A to B with a timeline and some sort of purpose, and then the rest I just let fall into place, and you can kind of adapt as you go.
Nice. So I'll ask you a little more about that later. But now, for our viewers, you're probably tired of hearing this question, but briefly, how did you get to the Philippines?
Okay, so I used to work in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
My background is outdoor education, and I was working for this company that works with international schools, and we take students on these kind of big outdoor pursuits, team building, sea kayaking expeditions, this kind of stuff. And a lot of my work colleagues happen to be Filipino. And I was like, whoa, we're working there, and our job is pretty hardcore. It's like 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. And you're dealing like you're in the you're living in like tents in the Bukid and dealing with like the safety of big groups of students. Who can be as young as 8 years old, 7 years old as 18, and I was like, man, why are these Filipino guys who I'm working with and girls? They're both like. They're very, positive and stoked, and like their vibes are really nice. And then like when we're done work on the weekends, they're always like together and sharing and like patak, we say, like you all chip in and kind of like eating, drinking, having fun. So I became very close with them in Hong Kong, and they're like, yo, come to the Philippines. So I did. And 2013, I just started coming and going and coming and going. So it's a very, very long. I could just literally talk about that for an hour, but basically I just got really connected to the way people appreciate kind of life and can connect with and makes them happy, and that grew into a whole bunch of other things that made me want to stay and connect with the country more.
All right, so further, when did the vlogging start?
So here's the interesting thing. 2014 February I think would be my first video ever, and prior to that, I'd been to 29 countries prior to coming to the Philippines.
Yes.
And I had no communications background. I had no vlogging or blogging background and no urge to do it. It was like, it wasn't a battle plan. What happened was over that year in 2013, I just became super inspired and really saw a lot of value in sharing about things that were around me here. So what am I going to do? Well, I can write some stuff and take photos, but wait a minute, people might not believe it, even if it's true. So how can I back that up? Well, maybe I'll make some videos. So that's how I started doing vlogging. And so it was really after a whole year, though, of just having personal experiences and building a passion and purpose. And that's when I was like, okay, let's do this, take it online. And it was funny because back then the term vlog didn't exist, right?
Yes, it was a very different
super
time.
Mainstream now, very much like if I walk out here on campus and pick up a camera and like look at it, people will be like, oh, he's a vlogger.
Yeah,
Whereas when I did that in 2014, I walk, let's say, into a market and take out my camera, people were like, what is that strange guy doing? What is he looking at and talking to a camera for? So I started then, and then over the years it grew and grew and grew.
Yeah, and you know what? Over the years, it has grown, but your energy from the beginning of your vlogs, as someone who has binged all of your vlogs, like over the pandemic, your energy, your positive spirit, it's the same. And your love for the country, that's really what stands out.
Yeah, well, it's real. I think one of the coolest things is when people meet me in the real world, like, wow, it's like you in the online world. And I think that's super important. Like, don't get me wrong, though. If you look back at 2014, 2015, 2016, and you look at my vlogs, it's me like shouting to a camera because I don't know how to do it.
Of course.
And I have no experience. But now I understand maybe how to talk to a camera. I treat it as a human. And I understand maybe how I want to project things a little bit better. And I'm more comfortable doing it. So now you see like there's a transition where I just look more comfortable. But it's the same enthusiasm and happiness. Just maybe a bit more structured. That's about it.
Yeah, but your authenticity still shows. So like, since we're on the topic of content creation, and I think until now we can still consider it a very new landscape since people are also learning how to use it in different ways. Like us here with our radio shows, people have recently started using social media for PR. And like with social media and content creation comes the different skills, like you said, like talking to a camera, projecting those feelings that you want the audience to perceive. Is there a specific way to learn all of this? Like, are there a set of steps? And also, how did you learn your filming and editing?
Okay, so literally through just doing it.
Just doing
over
it.
and over and over and over. But the funny thing about that is, like, again, before I started doing it, I understood why I was going to do it. Like, case in point, I can tell you right now, the 4 reasons why I do what I do. Number one, I just genuinely believe if I could introduce people to the Philippines in a positive way, it could have a positive effect on their lives and other people's lives. Number two, a lot of people like to talk about or can be overwhelmed by very negative discussion or negative things. It's easy to get drawn into that. So I wanted to create a platform where people are motivated to talk about happy things. Number three, foreign nationals like myself, sometimes they could use a little bit more education or things about the country that can allow them to have a better connection and experience, and also be more respectful to visiting the Philippines. And number four, Mindanao, where I live, people thought it was kind of evil and bad. So I wanted to show the other side. So I knew those four things before I even started doing something. So even though I was really, like I said, I used to shout to a camera, not know how to project what I want to project, but because I knew why I was doing it, it made me more comfortable just, being weird and failing and messing up. Or, it took me a week probably to edit my first video. Now I can edit a 20-minute vlog in 2 hours.
Wow.
I could wake up this morning, be like, I'm vlogging today. I can vlog the entire day, have it edited, uploaded by the evening online. While living my day without affecting my day, without it like taking away from me being a real human. But because I've been doing it for 9 years.
That's true.
And I've made maybe 1,600 videos, so, and I'm the one who edits them all. So it's repetition. It's very, very important. And definitely it can help if you're surrounded by other people who are doing it too. Like my friend who I know you talked to, Commander Daot.
Yes.
He would
watch.
Yeah, what's up? he would watch me. He would just watch me doing what I'm doing. Even now, when we went on he was part of the first few days of the scooter trip, and he was telling me, I'm just observing how you interact and when you take out your camera, and you can get tips. You'll always be individual, and what you do will be unique, but you can figure out valuable ways to make what you're doing a bit more effective.
This is super random, and I usually ask this to the content creators I interview, but how do you take care of your eyesight? This is super random, but I know that it's so important.
Actually, funny enough, like as I sit here talking to you right now, my eyes are a little bit tired because literally, like, I was on this trip and I'm vlogging almost every day. Now, I'm not able to keep up with my editing because I'm having always remember this, if you're going to create something too, I think it's very important to do the real world first.
All right.
Like, put the real world first. Like, I'm having these experiences. That's what's important. I don't want to, I'd rather have an extra hour doing whatever I'm doing than sitting at my computer editing. But now I'm trying to catch up, right? I need to reflect and storytell. So I'm sitting at my computer. Literally after this, I will go and sit at my computer and stare at it. I grew up with good eyesight, so I'm hoping that will be okay, but it's it can be tiring. I hope I have good eyes.
Yeah, because like us students, especially over the pandemic, when everything was on Zoom, our readings weren't printed, they were all online. It was like, oh gosh, we've all felt our eyesight change. So
I think too, we went for a walk earlier, right? And I was telling you how, my background's health and recreation, right?
Yes,
the value of just taking a break.
Yeah.
And when I mean taking a break, it's like not doing my editing and just going to Instagram. That's not the break, Diva. I mean, okay, take 15 minutes, go for a walk, drink a smoothie, do whatever you want to do. Like, just take your eyes away from it. Helps for sure.
And we're very lucky here now on campus. We have so many nice places to take a walk, to jog, and like for me as a student, enjoy the 10 minutes in between class for walking. It really helps you prepare. Like, it may not seem like it, but those long walks, that bell to CTC, it'll prepare you mentally. Trust me, freshies. So, next up, since we're on the topic of college as well, and you were talking about how your background is from health, recreation, and you were telling me and Teo some stories from your time in college, did anything from your college course, though seemingly unrelated, prepare you for your life as a vlogger?
100%, actually. Mine's kind of funky because you think, like, when I did health and recreation education, I never imagined it would turn, like, my life would be vlogging all the time. Like right? But my life prior to doing this was always interacting with groups of people, managing myself in situations with groups of people. When I go on my scooter trips and I end up in a little barangay, I have a huge group of people around me, and I'm so comfortable in that situation. And the only difference now is I just adapt a camera into it. So like naturally now I know where I'm going to put the camera, but besides that, it trained me to be more interpersonal, to be able to read emotions of people and situations, what's good, what's bad, and it's kind of like, so taking that whole educational group aspect totally prepared me for what I'm doing. So funny enough, you might think sometimes, hey, some of this stuff I'm learning too, maybe is it really going to like help me in the future? But it probably will. You'll probably see everything you do in life, I think, will compound in some form.
That's so true.
To help you in the future.
That's so true. And it's so cool to see how something so seemingly unrelated ended up like making it work. So nice. So next up, back to YouTube for a bit. Your channel's been around since 2014, so that's nearly 10 years.
Yeah, I'm kind of OG in the sense. Like,
you are.
I'm pretty matanda. Yeah, feeling ko matanda. Yeah.
No, it's okay. You're bata pa rin.
There you go.
No problem. But what would you say is the secret to longevity? Like not just with audiences, but also like in terms of creating.
You just have to understand why you're doing what you do. Simple as that. It's like I have my passion and purpose. I know exactly why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And it, like, case in point, the first 3 years of doing it, you could even look back. The majority of my videos are even using top 40 music, meaning it's not monetizable.
Yes.
Because I didn't even know you could monetize.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a thing. Back, actually, YouTube back then.
I remember.
Wasn't even, there was no business talk. Not until maybe 2017, 2018 did people even start discussing, like, oh, there's money in YouTube. So, even before there was money, I was very motivated to do it because I wanted to do it for a deep-rooted purpose. And then, even though when the money's come in for everybody, it's still the same thing. I have friends who have earned a lot of money online, but they're very demotivated, and sometimes they just quit for months and don't want to do it, even though they could earn a ton, because they have no deep-rooted, they don't understand why they're doing it. It's just, it can be fun to make the videos, but eventually if you don't really have a deep purpose, I guarantee you're going to stop, even if you're earning lots and lots of money. So for me, it's not like, great, yes, I earn money off YouTube now, but even if I wasn't, I would still be figuring out ways to do what I do, because it's exactly what I need to and want to do. So that's really, like, for longevity, it's, you have to understand why you're doing it, and it has to be very personal. And I would also say that it'll help you if it's something that's also positive for the world around you. Because what you'll find is, I think the world around you will support you. It's, that's very important in my opinion. So in my case, it's just genuinely education. That's what I'm giving back. I'm giving back education to people that's having an impact on their lives and making them want to reconnect or connect with things around them in the Philippines, or also affects them personally about how they feel about things in the Philippines. So even giving back to doesn't have to mean, hey, I'm just going to give people a bunch of money. Or, hey, here's a new car. Don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with that. But actually, you can give back in other ways. And that can also help you in the longevity thing. Because people, like, case in point, people would just tell me, this is, like, I would never accept it. But even early on, people would just want to give me money. They would just send me messages being like, yo, kulas, like, can I just send you money? Don't stop what you're doing. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'm okay, rock on. But to have somebody you don't know just want to send you money because they don't want you to stop. I mean, clearly there's something that, it's very motivating. It makes you realize, okay, there's a lot of purpose behind this. So. Yeah,
there are a lot of people who want to support you, seeing everything.
Yeah, and that's very motivating intrinsically. Exactly. So again, you just have to know why you're doing it before you do it. And don't get me wrong, you don't actually have to know before, because you can feel it out, right?
Yeah, of course.
We don't know our purpose in life right away.
That's
rock on.
So true. That's so true.
So yeah, I mean, but it will help you if you really understand.
Yeah, but like at this age especially, and we're in college, those are the things that plague our minds. We're always like, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? But then, like, when we hear it from people like you, like, oh, you don't have to have it figured out right away. You can take it a day at a time, and eventually it'll fall into place. It's very helpful to us.
Well, it's very, very true. And, like, don't get me wrong. When I was 21, 22, doing
of course.
I was a little bit like, whoa, what am I going to be doing? But actually, if you just kind of, just chill, take your days as they come. Yeah. And you don't really have to have everything thought
Yeah.
in advance, then sometimes what makes you happy or what can make your life feel really beautiful will just show itself to you. And then the thing is, like, once you get something happening in your life that is making you genuinely happy and also you're feeling really motivated about, maybe stick with it a bit, because maybe that is the pathway to being successful in whatever you want to do.
That's true.
So I think too, though, a lot of people sometimes might put up barriers and think, okay, wait a minute though, this thing I'm doing or might want to pursue, maybe there's all these barriers, like maybe I don't want to say it, or my family might not like it, or you can imagine. So, but I think it's very important to, you have to fight through the barriers sometimes. Like even my parents, they were very weirded out for a while, very scared.
At the time,
they're like, what are you doing? You're giving up your career in Hong Kong to pursue this thing that's not even earning you money, and like, just because you're really passionate about it, and it's in this strange country, the Philippines, we've never been to. So, I mean, I had to have personal battles with them, right?
Of course.
But now they're super stoked and happy and inspired and came to visit. So, I mean, you can fight through it. Yeah.
That's right. So, I guess for our college students, any advice when it comes to fighting through it?
Yeah, I think that what helped me definitely was that, like you said, one day at a time. It's kind of, if you just focus on having the best day every day, doing what you can, I find that's a little bit easier than overwhelming yourself with thinking, oh no, is this going to be done at the end of the month? Or, oh no, where am I going to be a year from now? Nice to think about maybe where you want to be or what you would hope.
Of course.
But at the end of the day, if you can just focus on your day, you'll pick away at whatever you have in front of you. And I find that can help.
But that's such good advice though, like treating every day like the best day, like trying to make every day such a good day and then reflecting on it. Parang that's such a good way to look at life, because like sometimes, especially in the past 2 years, it was so easy to just get caught up in loneliness and sadness and isolation, especially with everything going on, that it's easy to forget about like those little things that make every day great. So that's something we can keep in mind as well. So, in terms of industry, like the content creation industry, how have you noticed it change from the time you started all the way up until this point? Okay,
100% it's easier now because technology is super good. So I remember having I used to just have a little point and shoot camera. It's a little bit shaky. Like a GoPro back in the day, very shaky. Audio is not good. You didn't have apps on your phone. You can do everything on a cell phone. I could use my phone. I could do a whole video on a phone, edit it on a phone, post it. So definitely easier. I think it's definitely got a lot more businessy. Like I said, I mean, back in 2014, the thought of even earning money online wasn't really there. Now it's pretty much the first thing people will say will be like, oh, you're a YouTuber, you must earn a lot of money. Which is so fascinating for me, coming from the OG world of where that wasn't even a topic. So, and there is huge money in it because of, there's so many eyes in the online world. I think though the cool thing too is there's definitely, like I just said, a lot of eyes on it now. Like social media is so huge that everybody has a platform and can try and get a piece of that. So you could be somebody just who wants to share something, and there's an opportunity for you to reach out to billions of people, so that's it's exciting, definitely a bit more exciting. Besides that, I think it's just become very big. Everybody's on it. Every single person, I swear, is like online. So
that's true. And now there's so many like different sites online. Like I think back in 2014, the main were YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Like Instagram wasn't even as big, and then now we have like so many other things. Like I showed you earlier, we had Be Real.
Yeah, pretty funky. I like it.
Yeah, that was funny. So okay, let's go back to your adventuring for a bit. So correct me if I'm wrong, 81 out of 80 provinces.
80 of 81, but now did you know there's 82 now?
There's 82 now.
Maguindanao split into north and south.
I didn't know that.
So now it's 81 of 82 provinces,
81 of 82 provinces. All right. So are there plans of visiting the one?
Yeah, eventually when the time is right. So
of course.
I'll make sure to get there. I think what's fascinating though is even me, like I've seen a lot of people sometimes who do like that. Before it was like the 81 challenge, or they try and go to every province, which is fantastic. But I've also realized that, if you go to a province for 2 days and you go to one place, you're not really going to get a full experience of the province. You can spend a whole year in one province, So I think that even though it's like I've been to 81 of 82 provinces, there's still so much more I need to experience of each of those provinces.
For sure. Especially because like most of the time when you visit a place, your time is limited. Like it's not enough for like a week or a day. So you're right. You could spend a year there. So when you travel, would you say there are differences in your preparations for when you're traveling solo versus when you're traveling with your friends or in a group?
You know what's funny is that because when I was really not so experienced in the Philippines, I have to respect that I wasn't that experienced. So I would definitely be a little bit more cautious when I was alone because I couldn't speak the language basically. Now I can speak basic Tagalog and Bisaya, so and I can like understand a lot more words and dialects. So that makes me more comfortable going anywhere. But I'd say that funny enough, it's kind of swapped where I used to be more cautious when I was solo. But now I'm actually a little bit more cautious when I'm with people because I'm worried about them, not about their safety, but about like when you're in a group, you have to like who wants to do what, who wants to eat where. Whereas when I'm solo, I just do whatever I want. So it's it's way like super, super easy for me now. But I would say that at the end of the day, it's just you can just educate yourself before, whether you're solo or with a group, and read up on things. And there's so much information. Like literally right now, I could just type in Quezon City food into Facebook search bar. Yeah. And all these things are going to pop up and go. And there's this thing that says posts. I could get recent posts and see, there's what everybody's eating. And I could go there. Right. Yeah. Or danger in wherever and click, okay, there's some things happen there. So maybe I should be aware and understand. So just information at your fingertips is chilled.
About your basic Tagalog and basic Bisaya, do you have any tips for learning new languages? Because like based on the videos, of course, we see things at a different timeline and it looked like you learned everything pretty fast. So
I think it's funny because I think I learned my basic Bisaya probably in 6 months to a year. But I never became deeply fluent in it because what happened then is, I end up in like Quezon City. I lived in Quezon City for 6 months. Yes. And so in that 6 months, I picked up basic Tagalog. And the way I was able to do that being an English speaker is almost everybody in the Philippines can speak English, so they could translate. So I just literally would take like one word a day. I'd be like, ano yan? Like, ano Tagalog? Or they'd be like, baso or whatever, or tasa. And they'd be like, okay, it's a baso. So all day long, baso, baso, baso. And you pick it up. But the problem for me too was because I was so partial, like all the time, I suddenly would be in Samar and they speak Waray. So I'd be 3 weeks around what people saying Paghinay kamo, maupay na aga, tagpira ini, that it was tough for me to really just focus on one only because the Philippines is like 100 languages, right? So it's but I think the best way to do it is you just have to surround yourself with people who speak it and just take it one word at a time. So all of my friends in the Philippines, all of the people I stayed with were Filipino. So easy opportunity, right? But they were so nice to always speak English with me. But it definitely was, I could just ask them. I'm sure you could translate things for me right now into, into Tagalog. So
I'm not the best at Tagalog, but
okay.
All right. So you're visiting 81 out of 82 provinces became grounds for acquiring your Philippine citizenship. So what can you share about the process for all of that, apart from what's already readily available online?
Well, it's very fascinating. Again, my becoming Filipino wasn't actually trying to become a Filipino. The purpose was all these things were becoming a part of my life, so I wanted to share them, hence becoming Filipino. But when the unique opportunity presented itself, I found out that I guess there's technically 3 ways I think you could become a Filipino. One is you could be married for 10 years and then be petitioned and go through a system of some sort. I think number 2, you could have a huge investment in the country, live here for a long time, and then be petitioned again. Or the 3rd way, which is what's happening with me, is it can be an act of government. So they create a law in Congress and in Senate, and it will become a Republic Act that would be signed by the president, and that would make me a Filipino citizen. So where it stands right now is I have a bill in Congress, a bill in Senate, and then if those things all push through, I would become a Filipino citizen. But what's fascinating is when it was presented to me, first thing I did was like, whoa, okay, think about this. So I spent a few weeks and I just thought about it. Didn't tell my parents, didn't tell my girlfriend, didn't tell my friends, didn't tell anybody because it's very personal.
Of course.
So for me, I have to think about this myself. And the first thing I thought was, okay, do I deserve this? And then I thought, wait a minute, I can't even answer that question. That's not even for me to answer. How do I know that? I can't. I don't. I'm not Filipino. So, okay, I can't answer that. Then I thought, though, wait a minute. Okay, I came here and I'm 24. I'm 34 now. Basically 30% of my life, probably more than 50% of my prime life already. My entire young adulthood has been like fully immersed in the Philippines. So whether I like it or not, of course I like it, but the Philippines will be a part of my life, who I am.
Of course.
I've grown with the country. And I thought, okay, well, that makes me a bit more comfortable. And then, you know what? I'm 34. If it was going to happen, now's the time, because I actually, knock on wood, might still have many years left. I'm still fit. I'm still motivated. I'm still inspired. I'm like, this is my prime of my life.
Yeah.
So if you're ever going to do it now, so I can actually try and do positive things as a Filipino in the Philippines. I mean, would it be great to become a Filipino when I'm 70? Sure. But what can I give back then? Now I can maybe actually make an impact with people. So that made me comfortable with it too. And then thinking about all those things, because, you know, creating a law is a really big deal.
It is.
So, I mean, I don't want to, even for me personally, I don't want to just have a law created for me. That's a huge deal. So I need to make sure it's something that I'm also comfortable with accepting. So I am, And I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's rock on. So that's what we're doing.
Great. We're rooting for you, and we're hoping for the best for that.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So another thing I wanted to ask you about, actually, because at the height of the pandemic, that's when all of us, I think, were the most on YouTube. And I found you through all of the Fighter Boys videos. Those trips looked so fun. You've literally been to places that we didn't know about, places that we've heard about and never been to. And it always looked like how you presented the Philippines, how you presented those places. You made them look so nice, like so fun to go to. And then the fact that you were all with friends, it seemed so fun. So can you tell us about those days?
So the way that started actually was the first trip. I just wanted to get a bunch of my friends who also make videos and who were foreign nationals to come to Mindanao because, you know, the vibes still in the online and real world are a bit towards the negative. So it's like, it'd be cool to get all these guys together and then we'll travel around and just share positive stuff, and I could like fight back at that.
Yeah.
So I got a few of the guys together, and then, you know, also with their Filipino barkada, but then I was like, man, we need a vehicle because it'd be more fun. It'd be more fun if we're all together. So I literally called up a friend, and he's like, yeah, you could just take one of our alcohol trucks. Like, you know, one of the delivery trucks. So we took it and started driving around, and it was very spontaneous and super fun. And what happened is that first trip was just all over Mindanao. So then the second one we expanded. It ended up going to Visayas, and then we did one with motorbikes, and it was super cool. And like I told you earlier, you know, it's actually, you wouldn't believe it or not, it's pretty stressful too, because you have so many people, right? There's like 9 of us. Yeah. So again, where do you want to eat? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? So solo travel is actually a lot easier in the planning and execution process than doing with the guys. But it was super fun, and again, it taught me that if you're just spontaneous with like allowing your experience to grow, like you just, okay, this is feeling good, let's go here, then I find that it can be the most rewarding and fruitful.
One thing we enjoyed about watching all those videos is that even if you were all, obviously you were all in the same place going through the same things, but everyone's different videos showed a different perspective, and the different edits told a completely different story, which was so nice to see. So are there plans of any
people message all the time. So I mean, again with pandemic, right, I think a lot of people's lives shifted, so all the guys had their own things they had to deal with and do. But I'm pretty certain at some point everyone will just come back together and we'll do something. So we have a chat group. As long as you have a chat group. Chat group is key.
Of course. Group chats really keep everyone together, whether it's sending memes or just the hey, how are you?
Super important.
Right? I think like I had an episode around the peak of the pandemic. It was the week I had found your videos and binged all of it, and I talked about how I was like, oh, I hope you guys can go on a trip again because they're so fun to watch. It's as if you're part of the trip because when you watch it. Back to some tips for college students. So we've talked to people who have had like weekly jobs with weekly preparations, but yours with your vlogging, you're one of those who uploads like every day or like almost every day. So I guess now, instead of focusing on what you do, let's talk about how you manage your time, especially with how you're talking about like, oh, I want to be more in the real world than the digital world. I want to prioritize the real world. So how do you do it? Like, do you time block? Do you wake up and say like, okay, I have to give myself until this time? What do you do?
Might sound a bit weird, but I genuinely just live my life, and because I've been doing the technology side of it for so long, I just adapt it into my life.
Oh, that's good.
But even like, for example, even sitting here with you right now, the back of my mind is going, okay, when I'm gonna vlog next, when am I gonna start it? How am I gonna piece it together? What happened earlier? Am I gonna vlog something here on campus? I decided not to today.
Yeah.
But like, my brain is continually working all the time, literally all the time. And I think it's because like anything you do in your life, if you're gonna study to become a scientist and you love whatever science you're specializing in, when you're really passionate about it, it's probably gonna be in your mind all the time.
That's
so it's
true.
the same thing with me, with the whole vlogging technology thing. It's just always in my mind. But yes, you figure out ways to wait a minute. Okay, I'm having dinner with friends and I just want to hang out with my friends. Maybe I'm not going to vlog it, because I do know as soon as I vlog something, it will as well affect the situation.
Right.
And maybe then my mind's can be a bit more focused on that as opposed to absolutely everything I want to be around. So I think it's just kind of not so much time blocking, but you just have to know your capabilities. So I know if I want to, I can vlog every day of my life and post it within 24 hours. I can do it, but I also know it's going to be very mentally and physically demanding, and I have to also cater my life to that. So, I mean, if I'm just riding a bus for 24 hours and I want to document that, that means I have to document it. So you kind of have to understand, but is my audience want to see me on a bus for 24 hours? So I'm also realizing, what I'm projecting in my life and what's happening, is it also balanced with the amount of sharing I'm doing? So, for example, if I go to the hospital right now to get a checkup that's personal, I'm probably not going to vlog it.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
But you just kind of, you figure out your limits and your ability, and then you apply that to whatever you're doing.
Okay, so earlier you also talked about how like the landscape of vlogging, the industry of vlogging, it's changed so much from the time you started up to now. So what are some non-vlog related skills that you've picked up in the past 10 years that help you in your career?
Non-vlog related skills.
Yeah.
Well, I think just the case in point, probably my interpersonal communication. What I mean by that too is I lived in a Filipino compound. Like until I was 25, I was pretty much independent. In Canada, you're 18, get out of the house, go live your life, earn money, whatever. But then I'm 24, turning 25, and I move into a Filipino compound with titos, manangs, manongs, people everywhere all the time. Waking up, walk out of the room, people there. And I found though one thing that was really fascinating was I noticed I think a lot of Filipinos, in my personal opinion, are very good at like reading people. What I mean by that is if I'm sitting here with you talking, you could probably tell if I was here for business, if I was here because I just want to be here, if I was here for like trying to like become your friend to get to another friend or something, you could
you can read the room.
And I think that's because Filipinos are so used to being around people. A lot of for the most part, many Filipinos live as close-knit families, or if not, you're in a barangay setting where you're sitting outside at 4 p.m. like chica, whether marites or not, about other people. So I found that one skill I really think I've picked up more on is I'm better at reading situations and people and understanding what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. So that's definitely something I picked up. My food capabilities are, dude, I used to be like, oh, dried fish, now I'm like, oh, dried fish, yes, suka, toyo, let's go, woo, like rock on. So
you made me hungry just now.
Yeah, dude. So it's like I think that my ability to be diverse in many things has definitely changed. Yeah, just simple stuff like that.
All right. Okay. So now, when it comes to making good content, like what could make, of course, apart from being passionate about what you're doing, what could make a channel interesting?
I think first and foremost, again, like I said, it has to be something that you're very passionate about. I also think we're in this day and age. Case in point, when I started doing what I'm doing, I would go somewhere maybe for a few days, and I'd make one 4-minute, 5-minute video about it, very to the point, cut, whatever, quick. Now, I'm making 20-minute long
You
raw
are.
videos. But the reason I'm doing that is my audience is telling me that's what they like. And I can see the analytics. The average person is watching one of those videos for 60% of the time. That's really long. That's 12 minutes of each 20-minute video is an average of being watched. So I think we're actually in this day and age now where over the last like decade or so, we've been fed so much produced, manufactured stuff. You know, look at a TVC. It's awesome and cool.
Yeah.
But clearly you're not like, like this is the best, big smile. Like, it's clearly over exaggerated. So I think that a lot of people are kind of, in my opinion, people are really digging just raw realism.
That's right.
And I think that for a lot of people wanting to stand out is just be real.
Be real. Here we go again.
Literally, if you just like, I don't know about the app, but literally, if you're just raw and real, I think people can connect to you easier and also will realize they can reach out to you more and really connect with a real human. And in that case, you can grow as a person with your audience. And, you know, case in point, Commander Dawit, he became somebody who has a decent sized audience and community off of being himself. So I think that's very important. I think if you manufacture too many things, like if I put a specific brand in this cup right now, it's just like, oh, by the way, when we're talking, this delicious drink, I really love it. You should go get it. Clearly that's manufacturing. And I mean, you can do that. It's okay if it's something, but I would argue that you should make sure it's something you actually like. And you shouldn't do that often because people will start to wonder what's real. Case in point, I was offered TV roles before, movie roles. I will never do it. Because if I start acting, then what's real? If somebody who's never seen me before and only sees me first acting, then they see Becoming Filipino, they might just think it's acting. And how can I prove to them it's not? So you also have to draw your lines. So I drew my line at I won't act because then what's real? So things like that. You just have to be careful with what you produce, how you produce, and also just be real. It will help you.
So like, okay, you also mentioned like your connection with your audience, like you as the creator, your audience as the consumers of like the media you make. But how do you keep this relationship with your audience? Like from your perspective, how do you reach out to your audience, especially because like YouTube, like, you know, it's mostly you upload and they watch. So how do you make the connection more personal?
Well, I think first and foremost, real world's pretty dope, you know?
Of course.
You can go and hang out with people, you can meet people, you can take a message from the online and make it happen in the real world. I think that's super important, always like focus on the real world. I think the saddest thing for me is like, case in point, if I went to my phone right now and started scrolling, there'd be hundreds of messages from today. I can't physically answer them. It's impossible. And that makes me sad because I would love to talk to everybody. I would love to interact with everybody, and I appreciate that the person sent me the message, and it makes me sad that I can't show them back that appreciation because I physically don't have the time to do it. But I think too, like always, for example, I've always controlled all of my social media. I've never had an admin. Nobody's had access to it. And that's also made have an intimate relationship with my audience, right? And my audience knows that. So I feel like they feel pretty stoked that everything that's written is written by me. Every comment that says like super peer or hey, thank you very much or hey, that's from me. So I think that's important to be very personal.
Of course.
And again, just like even if you become somebody who's very large with an audience on the internet, don't devalue like just interacting with a few people in the real world because that can be just as powerful.
Agreed.
You know, people ask me all the time, they're like, what does it feel like to have 1 million subscribers or to millions of people reading your stuff? And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic opportunity to quickly share to a large chunk of people, but it actually doesn't feel any different than talking to one person. Because if you instill something in one person, that can grow just as big as anything.
For sure.
So it should never be undervalued. That's something that I think is very important.
You mentioned you've done like 1,600 videos. I'm not gonna ask you for which one your favorite is, but which one was the most challenging?
Most challenging?
Yeah.
I think actually challenging wise would probably it's hard to explain, but maybe when I'm just living at my house in Davao, and the reason I say that is because when you're really like, or even when I'm with my unofficial family in Cagayan de Oro, Because when you're really with like your close friends and family, and you have that really intimate relationship, right? Like
Yeah,
those are my
yeah.
close friends and family. And even my parents, like when they came, I don't want to stick a camera
Of course.
in. That's like, it's a really deep relationship. So it's tough because sometimes I'm sitting there like, man, this would be really great to film, and it could be really educational for people. But this is my family, or this is like my
Yeah.
close friends, and I know they just like me being present, and I don't even think they might not want to have it shared, So
Of course.
I find it difficult to produce a lot when I'm surrounded in my kind of intimate circle.
Yeah,
Where it's
yeah.
easy for me when I'm just rocking and rolling in the real world. But I also think too, although like I told you earlier, I feel like I've developed a good skill for understanding people and situations.
Yeah.
But I definitely would say that a lot of people, you should be careful with, just shoving a camera in people's faces and just like thinking you can film and produce everything, because there'll be times too where you might find yourself in a sensitive position, and you don't,
Right.
you have to figure out what's appropriate or whatnot. But yeah, I think that out of all my videos, just chilling at home, it's tough because I want to actually make, and I could make
Yeah.
many more videos, but I value that intimacy,
Right,
So
right.
I find that difficult.
But yeah, those videos are also fun to watch. Like, we literally saw you live in Cagayan de Oro and then build your house in Davao. Those are pretty
Yeah.
cool to watch. Like, seeing how it started versus what it is now. Like, seeing what you built.
Yeah,
years ago, that was
even
cool.
I think that's one of the perks of sharing your life online.
Yeah.
Is that you can look back on it and
Right.
see the difference. And
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
be careful, of course. Everything you share
course.
online will be there forever. But at the same time, if you feel like it's something that will be positive, then rock on. So.
Yeah, you have concrete documentation. I mean, imagine 30 years from now, you think, what was I doing 30 years ago?
Yeah.
You've got a very nice, like,
I'll-
log.
I'll
Yeah.
give you a crazy thing though that
Yeah.
we say that, but imagine this too. At any given time, Facebook, YouTube, Google, TikTok, all this stuff, they can just shut it down.
That's true.
So make sure you value the real
Yeah.
world. Like even for me, I always make sure, even if everything just disappeared, all the social media platforms said, we're out of business, we don't do it anymore, cancel, which we can't do anything. We don't control them.
course, yeah.
I'm comfortable that I have great relationships in the real world, many skills, many things I love to do. So that's cool. Rock on. If that happens, I can figure out other ways to share positive vibes in the Philippines. So never
Nice.
underestimate real world.
Nice. And that's also something important to remember, like, with how everything is becoming digital now, everything is becoming social media, that, like, our focus on the real world might get watered down. So you're right. Especially from someone like you who works in social media, it's important to remember to be present in the real world. Okay, so with that, a while ago you were telling me you're like an open book. So what's something you've never mentioned before that you want the world to know about you? This could be like anything at all.
Whoa, that's a very random question.
Super.
Something that I didn't want the world to know about me, but they can know now.
Anything. Some people give me their hidden talents.
Yeah, I don't really have many hidden talents. I don't know if I have many talents, but
Vlogging is a talent,
yeah,
but
technically,
we all
I
know
agree.
that.
No, I agree. Actually, I guess something that it's very just simple and corny, but like not corny, just simple. But actually, my life in Canada was super sports. Always
Super sports.
playing like just all sports. Really competitive volleyball, really competitive soccer. Super involved in sports teams. Always playing intramurals. Just every sport. And here in the Philippines, because of my life being so adventurous and unique in what it is, I don't really do many sports anymore, which is super weird for me. Like even at night, I'm looking up North American sports standings of like all the national leagues and stuff.
Yeah.
Things people would never see because they have no clue. But my whole life is like, I'm super sporty. I love sports, like crazy into sports. But nobody would know that here because I don't play sports here. So in the future, when if I ever like retire from making so many videos, I might just play a lot of sports.
We'll see you in the basketball
Yeah,
court.
probably.
here.
Probably true.
We definitely will. All right. Okay. So, on the deeper side, what's the best advice you've ever been given that you want to echo to the student community?
I think like my dad told me once when I was in Hong Kong. He's just like, he was there. They visited, and I remember like walked into a mall and we were just talking about random stuff and he's like, you know what? I remember we were talking about like I told him maybe one day I'll just be like a janitor, and I'm not saying anything. Janitors are great, like totally cool profession. I remember my dad looked at me. He's like, you know what? That's cool. I don't care what you want to be. Like you could be a doctor, you could be a janitor, you could be whatever. But as long as you're enjoying and you're really happy,
good.
then then rock on. And I think like, oh man, it's so true. Like, and I just since then kind of followed happiness, and it's working. So yeah, I think just that, again, sounds very corny and cliche, but just kind of doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you appreciate and are stoked on it, then it'll work.
Yeah, but it's true. Even if you said like it's cliche, it's become cliche because it's the truth. We all need to remember that.
And I think like when you're actually living it, like I'm literally living every day where I wake up super happy and inspired and go to sleep super happy, sometimes tired and inspired. And that's because I did that. But to actually do that takes a lot of fighting barriers and realizing what you should be pursuing, because it's what makes you happy. So I think that, again, it's cliche and like kind of like corny, but at the same time, maybe it's that way because a lot of other people do it. It's so easy to be like, I'll just do this other thing, or I'll try this, and not just go like, okay, I'm going all for what I really love,
A lot of it is trusting the process also.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Kind of just going with the flow. And we talked about this earlier. Like sometimes, like when you're in our age right now, going with the flow is so hard because like you want the set of steps.
And
you want to see where
be
you're
realistic.
going.
Like, again, you'll never see me. I'm not the kind of guy who's like break away from the 9 to 5. And I'm also not. I'm also not the kind of guy who's like, when I went all in on doing what I'm doing, I also did that knowing I'd saved up a bunch of money. I also have relative skills and connections in many industries, and the ability that if I went bankrupt, I could go and work and do something I love anyway. So I made that decision to go all in on something I love, with the security of understanding that it's going to be okay even if I just totally fail. So don't get me wrong, you can go all in and knowing that if you totally fail, that's you have nothing to fall back on. But I would emphasize it's probably important to line up, the appropriate time to do so. So that's what I did, and it worked out, and didn't fail, and rock on.
All right. So here we go. Life lessons with Kulas. Okay, so this is going to be super random.
Okay, go.
Answer in one word. Which is more difficult, filming or editing?
Editing.
Okay, what's an editing lesson that can become a life lesson?
Don't take it too seriously.
Don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, what I mean by that is
so?
like, if you overthink, then like for example, when you're editing, like if I just start overthinking, is that going to be how I want to do it? Is that going to be? Then that's very serious. If you just kind of like, okay, this is cool. That's cool. I'm just gonna leave it. Let it be cool.
Yeah.
If you're like, okay, this is cool, then you go, but it could be a bit cooler. But I could do that. Then that can really have a lot of kind of difficulties. If you're just like, okay, that's cool. Then it's cool. Great. Make it. That's it.
Nice,
done,
nice.
Rock on.
What should we be watching out for from you? Like upcoming projects, upcoming appearances, apart from your usual posting schedule.
You know what? Probably just the same stuff.
Same stuff, got it.
I've been doing the same thing for 9 years, but the only difference is I'll probably end up in a lot of unique areas. Like, I tend to make sure I like to experience new things, right? So you'll probably just see me, in some unique places I've never been before, and possibly that you've never been before. So, yeah. And maybe you'll see me as a Filipino citizen. I don't know. So.
We're praying for that. We're definitely praying for that.
So that'll be cool too. But yeah, and possibly something I like to talk about sometimes is I definitely want to give as I can more Filipinos opportunities to experience their own country, and so maybe I'll put something together where I can, take some Filipinos around and do stuff. I also want to see some of my Filipino friends who've never experienced outside the country, possibly figure out some ways to get them outside. Because don't get me wrong, super Philippines pro Kulas. Go Philippines. Just travel the Philippines, rock on. But I also value experience everything, right? So I want to, and I think it's quite cool. Like I remember when Kumar went overseas for the first time with me to Dubai, it blew his mind. So I like seeing that. I want to see some more of my friends go overseas.
When will you and Kumar do your Becoming Canadian?
That's the plan. Actually, that's the plan. Literally, when we figure out how to get him the visa, it's really tough. I understand. I don't personally, but I can see through my friends and people how it's very difficult sometimes to be able to go places. So I hope that we can get Kumar the visa in the future, and definitely I will train him in a freezer. We'll go to a grocery store and chill in the freezer for a while, and stuff like that.
that's something we've been looking forward to actually since you mentioned it. So like, all right, that's definitely a plan in the future. So in terms of your socials, are you going to be expanding your TikTok?
So I don't even do TikTok.
Oh,
And
really?
No, I have
a
an
TikTok.
account.
Yeah,
I have an
I
account,
saw your TikTok.
and I don't have anything on it. And the funny
Okay.
thing is, though, is I was asked this question in Thailand actually a couple months back when I was doing a talk to all these international travel bloggers and writers, and they're like, "Hey, like, do you ever feel any pressure? Like, you should do TikTok?" And I did, and I probably should create content for TikTok because it's a huge platform.
Yeah.
But like we talked about earlier, I understand my limits.
Right.
And right now, I'm operating at 100% awesomeness on the levels I am with my YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and real life. So I'm not ready yet to dive into making more because I can't give up control of my life.
Of course,
to
of
somebody else. So a lot of people are like, well, "I'll just edit it and post it for you," and I'm like, "Well, that's not me in
Yeah,
real."
exactly.
So,
Then it's not you.
But hey, I'm a pretty good dancer, so. I'm not gonna lie, pretty bad dancer.
We've
So,
got a stage upstairs.
Yeah,
we can
I
help
might
you
rock
out.
my ting ting tong tong ting thing, you know. Like,
Tinikling. TikTok yourself.
I kind of do the ting ting tong one, you know. At some point, I'll probably use TikTok, but I haven't gotten to that stage yet.
Okay, well, that's something to look forward to. And okay, it just occurred to me now because we brought up Kumar in his first overseas trip to Dubai. But when you're flying with someone nervous, what do you tell them to reassure them? Because flights can be very scary.
So I'm a realist, right? What I mean by that is,
Oh, gosh.
case in point, people are like, "Whoa, Mindanao's evil, don't be there." I'm like, well, it's 97,500 square kilometers, 27 million people, 27 provinces, super big. So you look at crime statistics, pretty low. So I'm pretty good. If you look at airplanes, it is literally the safest way to travel in the world. If you look at motorbikes, I think there's 57,000 crashes and accidents and injuries last year. I think that was 2017 or something. So you'll hop on a motorbike, but you're afraid of a plane? Like, I won't say it like that, but I'll basically try and reassure the realism. You know, I like to huck in some stats and stuff to kind of be like,
Nice.
it's all good. Planes are like the best, most safest and happy. And look, oh, that's a brownie. You can get it from the lady. Woo, you know. distract.
Okay, because you're like one of the chillest people I know. Like, you're like, it'll be fine. It's okay. So, okay, good to know. All right, so before we say goodbye to you, allow me to thank a few people first. Then I'll ask you to give your parting message for the audience.
Cool.
All right. So, as I said, before we say goodbye to everyone in the audience and to our guest, please allow me to thank a few people first because this has been New Wave. So, thank you to Teo for handling the broadcast and the streaming, and the filming of this episode, and Sir Justin for his support from the next room. Thank you once again to our audience for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you all next week, whether it be in studio or back at home. It's a new month. It's February, the shortest month of the year, so let's make the most of it. For my fellow seniors, guys, keep up with what's going on for the yearbook, keep up with what's going on for just us being seniors, and of course, let's enjoy our last few months on campus. We're very lucky we were able to go back as students, so let's make the most of it as well. So don't miss out. You can follow us on Instagram at newwave.rk to stay updated. Follow me at Maxine Cruz on Instagram. Head over to our Facebook page called New Wave and join the Facebook community group for replays, additional content, engagements, and ways you can be featured on the show. You can catch the replay of this episode on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM's Facebook page, YouTube, and Twitter Live, all of which go by at Radyo Katipunan. Don't forget that you can also listen to this episode and many more as a podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor under the name New Wave. But most of all, thank you to our guest, Becoming Filipino, Kyle Jennerman Kulas. Thank you for making time for us. Thank you for joining us today. And of course, for sharing your journey and life experiences with us. So, the floor is yours. You can say
thank you
want
guys
our audience.
for hanging out and listening. And thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed the talk. Also, I think it's really valuable when we just talk in general.
Yeah,
so,
super.
I mean, whether this went on the internet or not, it's always fulfilling
Exactly.
having conversations. So, I won't say much. Just you guys have a super nice campus, and if you see me jogging, say hey. So
Jogging or playing basketball?
we'll
Jogging or playing
see.
basketball.
So power on, rock on. I'm pinging at. Take care.
Thank you. So once again, I'm Max, and when it comes to what's happening, I'll serve you the facts, and this has been New Wave. We'll see you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention?
If it's entertainment you crave, catch us on New Wave. Surfing through the latest on our shores. Every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. See you there.